Hey everybody. So it's no secret that, I want Geoff Collins to be fired. I called for it in the Jahmyr Gibbs video of when it was revealed that he was transferring out. And I'm just generally tired of him. I don't believe in him. I don't think he'll do any good. But of course, we're stuck with him because of his contract, which I'll talk about. But so we're stuck with him for another year. But I think he should be fired anyway. I mean, well, not anyway. It's not my money that's thrown around. But I just don't believe in him whatsoever. And what kind of not inspired me, but triggered me to make this video today was we had a couple decommitments from our 2022 class, and not a couple. I mean, they were, some of our best players. We lost a couple 4-stars, a 3-star. And, that's just the beginning. And early signing day is coming up. And Geoff Collins, it's clear that he's not going to be able to keep this class together. One of the decommits includes Jerron Willis, a linebacker, ranked 170th in the country in this class, and he decommits. And this was a kid that was really believing in the process and the, rebuild and all that. I even was in a Twitter space with him the week after we had lost to Northern Illinois. I was in a Twitter space with him, and he was talking about, it's okay, this thing happens, and stuff like that. And so, he was willing to give a lot of leeway, but saw how the rest of the season unfolded and decommitted. I don't blame him. I don't blame any other commits. I don't blame any of the people transferring out. I don't blame any of them. So I blame Geoff Collins. And it's clear that it's a sinking ship right now with him. And, why don't we just rip the Band-Aid off? I mean, it would cost us significantly more to fire him now than a year from now, thanks to this amazing freaking contract he got. Our shiny new athletic director, Todd Sanford, he reminds me of Kirby Smart. He's, great at what he does, what he's good at. Well, at everything except football, which Kirby Smart is great at everything except quarterback. And he will die on this hill, right? Kirby Smart, no matter what he sees on the field, he straight up will not criticize or anything with Stetson Bennett. He won't, bench him or anything. And Todd Sanford is the same with Geoff Collins. He keeps believing him, keeps, backing him up, putting out statements to the fans and whatnot. And, okay, man, you're going to die on this hill? Well, I don't know, because he's really good at the other sport. I mean, look at us in friggin' volleyball. I mean, we're, number 4 in the country in volleyball. Our basketball team is up and coming. We won the ACC last year, made it to the big dance. We're great in baseball. Won the ACC in baseball too. And softball, we're great. So every other sport except football, we're great. And Todd Sanford refuses. I mean, he acknowledges that there's a problem, but, he just keeps on with Geoff Collins. And it's clear that Geoff Collins is a lame duck coach, okay? And the way I see it, there's 3 kind of in general things that you really want in a coach, right? And, there's a million things, but, the 3 biggest things I can think of is scheming. Well, it's been clear since year 1, Geoff Collins isn't going to out-scheme anyone. He couldn't scheme his way out of a paper bag, a wet one at that. And so, and maybe... okay, it's fine. He's the freaking figurehead guy, a hype man, whatever type coach. So you surround yourself with some good coordinators, like maybe Ed Orgeron. We kind of see how things fell apart with his coordinators left. Well, he surrounds himself with coordinators such as Dave Patnode and Andrew Thacker. And to his credit, he fired Patnode and demoted Thacker. Well, it's a little too late. I went into this season stressing. You can go back and watch, all my videos talking about this upcoming season. I said this ad nauseum in the offseason. I said, this is such an important critical year. You know, the landscape, not even for Georgia Tech, but the landscape of college football as a whole is changing quickly. And we have to be able to keep up, and we're going to have some success in order to do that and be taken seriously this year. And we haven't. We're a laughingstock. I've watched Geoff Collins run this program's name into the ground. And no one knows or cares, I guess. But they act like we're Vandy or something, just bottom feeders for our entire school history. No. Geoff Collins is the worst head coach at Georgia Tech. If he was fired tomorrow, he would be the worst Georgia Tech coach in history. Worse than Bill Lewis. Bill Lewis was the coach right after we won the national championship in like 1990. And he was awful. But at least Bill Lewis won, 5 games his first 2 years. And Geoff Collins can't say. Bill Lewis won more games in his first 2 years than Geoff Collins won in 3. And Bill Lewis is as it stands, the worst coach in Georgia Tech history. So what does that make Geoff Collins, And he's got a 3rd year coming up, so we'll see. But I don't have any faith in it being any better. But anyway, so Geoff Collins, lame duck tech, yeah. So scheming, clearly not a good schemer. He can't, he just can't. And he's made this change. And I mean, let's be real. Chip Long is coming into an offense that's lost every good player that was on it. Yes, we had good players. We were ranked 5th in the ACC as far as roster strength this year. And they're all gone. And maybe if he had come in this past year, because a lot of people were calling for Patinode's head last year when it was apparent that, he's misusing the talent. And it's a shame that Patinode was put in charge of an offense that could have done great things, especially in a weakened ACC. I mean, let's just call it what it is, a weakened ACC. And, yeah, we played close games with them all. But, I mean, they're not great teams, and we kept losing to them. We should have beat this. We should have beat UVA, should have beat Virginia Tech, should have beat Miami. We didn't. We fell short. We blew it. And so, it's too late for the coaching change and all this and everything. I think Collins has got one foot out the door already, so too late for those coaching changes. Next would be culture. I would consider a good head coach needs to have a good culture. You can see it with Dan Mullen. Clearly, he didn't have a good culture going on there at Florida. Tom Herman didn't have a good culture at Texas. You can kind of go down the list. Ed Orgeron didn't have a good culture. And those programs don't last well. It's not like Geoff Collins has players getting arrested and, sent to prison and stuff like at Georgia. But, you have to be, if you're going to suck and win 3 games a year, you got to be able to keep them on board. You got to be able to keep them believing in what you're telling them. And clearly the past few weeks of the season, that hasn't been the case because you don't get shut out 100-0 in your last 2 games. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if you're freaking playing Alabama and the freaking 85 Bears, which we weren't. You don't get shut out 100-0 in your past 2 weeks if you're a respectable program without your players giving up. And they clearly did. And now they're all transferring out or declaring for the draft or whatever else. And that, to me, was strike 2 out of 3. And that, made me call for Geoff Collins to be fired when Jahmyr Gibbs transferred out. And we've seen, I haven't made videos on all the other players transferring out because there's so many of them. And, yeah, we've had, the normal transfer out. I expected Jordan Yates to transfer. We've had some guys that haven't got playing time transfer. But we've had good players leave. We had Jemias Griffin leave. And we had, more recently, Jordan Mason's leaving. Wanye's declaring for the draft. Everybody's just leaving, dude. They don't want to. They're tired of it, and I don't blame them. So, culture. That's clearly that is not Geoff Collins, despite what he tells you in his press conferences. He just lies to you. That's not his. He doesn't have that either. And the third thing would be recruiting. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, doesn't have that now either, right? Because all the recruits are decommitting. And, that means he's a lame duck coach. You can't scheme, can't freaking have a culture where the players believe in you even when you're losing. And now you're blowing it in recruiting too. And recruiting, I'm not even so sure that it is so hard to recruit to Georgia Tech. I mean, okay, Geoff Collins comes in, he's an elite recruiter. I get it, he's recruiting to a 3-win team, and that's impressive. And now they're just now decommitting after we've blown it for a third time. But I mean, it's in Atlanta. It's the only Power 5 program in downtown Atlanta. And kids want to go there, and we don't run the triple option anymore. And if we start winning games, is there much more you need to sell recruits on? A lot of them want to stay home. The kid, there's tons of talent in Georgia, and I know you got a bunch of programs around here to compete with, but I just don't think. And don't give me the academics thing. I mean, there's plenty of places. Look at the way Notre Dame recruit. I get it. We got calculus and all that. Well, look at the 4 stars. The writing is on the wall. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Look at our last 2 through 3 recruiting classes. They've been an insane improvement from what Paul Johnson was doing. So it can be done. And none of these kids, by the way, so far, it's been 3 years now, none of them have stopped playing because of school or whatever else. So it's really not that. I mean, it's not. And I do agree we should probably make some easier classes for the athletes because, well, that's really all I care about. I don't care to come on YouTube and tell people how amazing our academics are. I want to tell them how good our football team is. So, yeah, I'm all for making a home ec class where you make cupcakes and get an A. I'm all down for that, but apparently the people at Georgia Tech just don't care about football, or the professors I've heard are all dicks and they want to make classes hard. Don't even get me started on that. That's another video in itself. But so Geoff Collins, 3 strikes and you're a lame duck coach. And I gotta say, I mean, I want him to be fired, and he's not going to be, because Todd Sanford has made his contract so that he gave him a 7-year deal, completely unearned. And I get he was trying to commit to the rebuild, and probably whoever came in would have got that same deal. We just happened to have a bum hire, and yeah, I guess he wasn't accounting for the fact that we would have the worst head coach in Georgia Tech history come in and use the triple option. Don't even give me the triple option excuse anymore. I don't want to hear it. It's year 3. Like 90% of the roster is his. And they're graduating now, and they're, all the triple option kids and everything are gone. And I just don't want to hear it. It's just, it's not a good excuse anymore. COVID's not a good excuse anymore. There's just no excuse. He's just a terrible coach. So, and we can't fire him, because his deal is structured so that if he gets fired before the end of the 4th season, he gets paid the entire contract amount. And geez, I mean, and so we just have to sit here and watch the Geoff Collins run our school's name into the ground at one of the most crucial times in college football I can think of. I mean, there's conference realignment. We're not in any conference realignment talks. Coming off of the triple option, you get some great recruiting classes in. No excuse for how bad we've been. There's just no excuse. And we're stuck with it for another year. And I'm not one of these fans that's going to, root against my team, like want us to lose just so he'll get fired. I mean, it's true that, well, although when you're at the bottom here, you can kind of see where they're coming from, because, I mean, I've seen other teams do it, but I mean, it is possible, looking at next year, our schedule, we back our way into a bowl or something. I mean, if you look around at the Coastal, it's like four teams in the Coastal next year are going to have brand new head coaches, and Pitt is probably going to lose a lot of their good players. So, it's possible that we do well in the ACC next year. Possible. I have zero faith at all. I'll be shocked if we do well. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to root against us. I'm just going to lower my expectations because I'm not going to be able to sit here and cheer against the Jackets just so the coach will get fired. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to sit there and be surprised when we're losing. I'm just not. I'll tell you what I'm also not going to do is watch his press conferences anymore because it's a load. It's a complete load. He just sits there and lies the whole time, and it's cringe. And I'm not gonna watch that crap anymore because it's very cringy. And in my opinion, he's on borrowed time because I don't think he's going to get this thing turned around. He's going to get fired next year after probably winning 3 or 4 games and go down as the worst coach in Georgia Tech history. I was talking about Bill Lewis earlier. Georgia Tech fans censor his name when they type it out, on the internet. Well, they're gonna about to have to replace that with Geoff Collins. We're about to be calling him Jabib Khabib because that's what's coming. So we could fire him today and just rip the Band-Aid off and pay the money, which we're not going to do. I mean, we instead choose to spend it on, doubling our new OC's salary. Like that's going to do anything. I mean, I applauded that move but it should have been done a year ago. Now the money move should be to fire Geoff Collins, which, it wouldn't exactly make me happy to see him out the door with all the school's money and freaking bankrupt us. But I mean, it's just sad to see the state our program's in. It's going to be sad not being able to get excited for this upcoming season. I mean, it can't get much worse. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about everything in the upcoming season. I just have zero faith, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have zero expectations, and it's unfortunate. Apparently, the boosters were ready. They had the money, and I read an interview of the boosters of what they thought. These are the people bankrolling the whole thing, and they apparently had the money and were ready to get rid of them and pay the buyout. And Todd Sanford talked them off the ledge. So that's a Kirby Smart move if I ever heard it. I mean, if they're sitting here willing to pay it because it's clearly not going to improve. I don't know. I would say it would set us back, but, firing Geoff Collins, it would mess up the recruiting class and all that. It's all messed up. All the players have left. All the recruits have decommitted. We've dropped like 15. We were in the top 20 or something like that. We dropped like 15 spots nationally in recruiting rankings. And it's all messed up already. So the only thing now would be the money, which I guess they're not going to pay. So I don't know. Not looking forward to this upcoming year. But I just needed to get on here and talk about it because Geoff Collins needs to be fired. So